Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, welcome back.
Today we're going to be talking about class size.
Ooh, class size.
You're here because you want to know, okay, what is the deal with class size? Does it matter or not?
Yeah, everybody wants to know, should we be cramming kids into rooms? Or
Right.
should they all have, one-on-one tutoring?
Exactly. So, as always, we're going to be taking a look at one specific source material. This time, it is a 2007 article by Joshua Michael Engelhardt called The Centrality of Context in Learning from Further Class Size Research.
So clearly we're going to be looking at class size, but we're going to be looking at it kind of through this lens of context, which, as we'll see, is really important.
Yeah, so the research in this area, as you might have guessed, is all over the place.
Yeah.
Some people are saying, yeah, smaller classes are the way to go. Other studies are saying, it doesn't really matter that much. There's not a huge effect.
Yep.
And then some are even saying bigger classes are better.
Wow. Okay. So, when you see these kinds of conflicting findings,
Right.
it can be really difficult to, draw any conclusions.
Yeah, how do we make policy?
Exactly, yeah.
So we're going to try to figure out why those findings are so different. And we're going to look specifically through this idea of context that Engelhardt is putting forward.
Yeah, he's basically saying we need to think about all of the factors that surround class size if we want to actually understand its role in student learning.
So let's get into it. Let's start with the article and kind of set the stage here.
Okay.
One of the first things Engelhardt points out is that class size is this really contentious issue.
Oh, yeah.
And, it makes sense, right?
Well, yeah, if you think about it, if you're going to reduce class sizes, that costs money.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge investment.
Big time.
You've got to hire more teachers. You need more classroom space.
More resources in general.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you're going to invest all that money,
Yeah.
you want to know that it's going to pay off, right?
Right.
You want to have some solid evidence that it's actually going to make a difference.
So we need some good studies then.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where things get tricky.
Yeah.
Because as we said, the research findings are kind of all over the place.
Okay.
So what happens is, people will come into this debate and they'll kind of cherry pick the research.
Oh.
That's what Lartigue said back in 1999.
Okay.
He said, people will find a study that supports their viewpoint,
Right.
and they'll use that to make their argument, but they're ignoring all the other studies.
Confirmation bias.
Exactly. Yeah. So it becomes more about winning the argument
Right.
than actually trying to understand what's going on.
Okay, so you've got this kind of political baggage, right?
Yeah.
But then you've also got the fact that class size itself is kind of a difficult thing to define.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not as simple as just there are 20 kids in this room.
No, you can't just look at the raw number. Berlin and Sankis were talking about this back in 1989.
Okay.
They were saying that the socioeconomic status of the kids in the class,
Oh.
that can have a huge impact.
Right. So even if the number is the same, if you've got two different populations, it might
yeah.
be wildly different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, even things like, how school district boundaries are drawn.
Oh.
And, the social and political factors that
Yeah.
determine the size of schools, that kind of thing.
Right.
All of that plays into it.
So it's almost like you'd have to control for so many factors.
Yeah.
To really
Yeah.
isolate class size is the one variable you're looking at.
Exactly. And Bracey had a really good point about this in 1999.
Okay.
He said that reducing class size might be effective for some types of students, but not others. It might be effective for some subjects, but not others. And its effectiveness might depend on a whole host of other variables.
So it's not as simple as smaller classes, better outcomes.
No, not at all.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And that's why Engelhardt is arguing that we really need to pay attention to context
Okay.
if we want to understand how class size really affects learning.
So to get a sense of where the research stands now,
Yeah.
Engelhardt goes through some of the major studies in this area.
Right.
And he starts with some of the big, large-scale studies, the ones that people always talk about when they're talking about class size.
Right.
So let's take a look at those first.
Okay, so we've got Project Prime Time,
Okay.
which happened in Indiana between 1984 and 1986.
Okay.
And this was a state-funded initiative.
Okay.
So that means that almost all the school districts in the state participated,
Oh, wow.
which is great, because it gives you a really big sample.
Right, a lot of data.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And they reduced class sizes in grades 1 to 3.
Okay.
So first grade, they brought it down to a maximum of 18 students.
Okay.
Second and third grade, 22 students.
Okay.
And the initial findings look pretty good, Okay.
Mueller, Chase, and Whedon.
Okay.
They reported in '88
Yeah.
they were seeing gains in student achievement in both math and reading.
Oh, okay.
And the biggest impact seemed to be in first grade reading.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and not only that, but when they asked teachers, parents, and principals, most of them said they felt like the smaller classes were allowing them to give more individual attention to students.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and they felt like it was boosting teacher morale
Okay.
and just leading to better student achievement overall.
Okay, so kind of like anecdotal reports, but still.
Yeah, but they did some classroom observations too.
Oh, okay.
And they noticed that in the smaller classes, teachers and aides were interacting more with small groups of students.
Okay, so that kind of like bears out that anecdotal stuff, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And then there was this one district where they saw some really impressive gains after reducing first grade class sizes.
Okay.
Like scores went up significantly on most of the standardized tests.
Yeah, it was pretty dramatic.
Okay.
But Gilman, Swan, and Stone, they were the researchers who looked at that district, and
Yeah.
they cautioned that, maybe it wasn't just the class size.
Oh,
They pointed out that at the same time, they had also introduced these teacher accountability measures.
so maybe there are more things going on than just a
Okay.
smaller class size.
Yeah, so it's hard to say for sure what caused those gains.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then on top of that, when you look at the broader Project Primetime study,
Yeah.
Biddle and Berliner in 2002, they pointed out some pretty big weaknesses in the design of the study.
Okay.
So, for one thing, it wasn't a true experiment.
Right.
They didn't have a control group that was randomly assigned.
Okay.
They were basically just comparing achievement levels before and after the class size reduction
Right.
within the same groups of students.
Okay.
So it's hard to say for sure that the smaller classes were the cause of the gains,
Okay.
because there could have been other factors at play. Other things happening in the schools or in the students' lives.
Okay, so not as scientifically sound as we might like.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And then, on top of that, everybody involved in the study,
Okay.
teachers, students, administrators, they all knew what the purpose of the project was.
No.
So, maybe that influenced their behavior.
Right, like they're trying to do better because they know they're
Exactly,
being
right.
rich.
And then they also use different subgroups of students for different parts of the analysis.
Okay.
Which makes it hard to compare the findings.
Right.
And then, maybe most surprisingly,
Okay.
some of the classes that they called small actually had up to 31 students
Oh, wow.
if you included the aide in the classroom.
Oh, I see.
So that kind of muddies the waters a bit.
Right, what does small class even mean?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Primetime, it had some issues.
Yeah.
But the next one I think is a little more robust.
Okay.
So this one is Project Star.
Okay, Project Star.
This one took place in Tennessee
Okay.
from '85 to '89.
Okay.
And it was a much more rigorous experimental design.
Oh, okay.
So they involved 76 elementary schools.
Okay.
And each school had at least 3 kindergarten classes.
Okay.
So there was a small class, which had 13 to 17 students.
Okay.
There was a regular size class, which had 22 to 25 students and a full-time aide.
Oh, okay.
And then there was another regular size class, also 22 to 25 students, but this one didn't have an aide.
Okay.
So they randomly assigned students
Okay.
to one of these 3 class types.
Okay.
And then those students stayed in that type of class for 4 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like a long-term thing.
Yeah.
And they looked at the results both after the first year
Okay.
and then over the 4 years.
Okay.
So Finn and Achilles, they reported on the findings after the first year.
Okay.
And they said that students in the small classes were consistently scoring higher
Okay.
in reading and math,
Okay.
regardless of which school they were in. And what was really interesting was that minority students seemed to benefit even more from being in the smaller classes,
Oh, wow. That's really interesting.
which actually helped to narrow the achievement gap.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like they got this initial advantage
Yeah.
and then they kept it
Okay.
and actually increased it
Okay.
over the next couple of years.
Oh, okay.
So pretty promising, right?
Yeah, sounds like it.
But it's also interesting that the larger classes that had an aide,
Okay.
they did show similar gains to the small classes
Yeah.
in the second year, but they didn't actually close that initial gap.
Oh, interesting.
So maybe the aide helps,
Yeah.
but it's not the same as just having a smaller class.
Got it.
And then Nye Hedges, and Konstantopoulos, they looked at the data after the whole 4 years.
Okay.
And they found, again, a really positive effect of small classes
Okay.
in reading and math
Okay.
across all the grades that they studied.
Okay.
And what was really cool was that the longer students spent in a small class, the
Yeah.
greater the impact seemed to be.
Okay.
And this was consistent across different schools.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And they actually suggested that maybe they were underestimating the benefits of small classes
Okay.
because some of the larger classes actually ended up having fewer students than they were supposed to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so like maybe the difference would have been even bigger
I
if
see it.
they'd actually had 25 kids in those bigger classes.
Okay.
And to put those findings in, like concrete terms,
Okay.
Finn and Achilles estimated that by 5th grade,
Okay.
students who'd been in small classes were about half a school year ahead
Oh.
of their peers in larger classes
Okay.
in stuff like literacy, math, science, and even study skills.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, so that's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
But of course, even with a really strong design, STAR had its critics.
Okay.
So Goldstein and Blatchford, they pointed out that because they were randomly assigning students within schools,
Okay.
the experiment wasn't totally blind
Oh.
because teachers and students knew what type of class they were in.
Oh, I see.
And that could have influenced their expectations
Right.
and then, their behavior.
Oh, right.
So like maybe the teachers in the small classes were like, oh, we're in the small class, we've got to really do well.
Right.
Or maybe the students were like, oh, we're in the small class, we're expected to do well.
Oh, yeah.
And then that could have like affected the outcomes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And they also said that there wasn't total independence between the different class types
Okay.
because, the teachers and students from the small classes and the large classes were all in the same school.
Right.
So they were probably interacting,
Yeah, I see.
and that could have influenced things too.
Okay.
And then Praise pointed out some issues with how the experiment was actually carried out. So there were some instances where students were moved between small and large classes
Oh.
during the study.
Okay.
And supposedly it was for reasons like balancing the number of boys and girls
Okay.
or separating students who weren't getting along.
Okay.
But the data for those students who were moved
Yeah.
wasn't fully accounted for,
Oh.
which raises questions about, like, maybe there's some bias in the results.
Yeah, I see.
And then, because it's a longitudinal study,
Yeah.
there were some students who left this study
Okay.
and some who joined later.
Right.
And that can also affect the results.
Okay.
And then Honishek, of course, he had his criticisms as well.
Okay.
So he pointed out that they didn't really account for the students' abilities when they entered the study.
Okay.
So, like, maybe the kids in the small classes were just, like, smarter to begin with.
Yeah.
And then he also said that the schools volunteered to participate
Okay.
rather than being randomly selected.
Oh.
So maybe there's something special about those schools.
Right. Maybe they're already like high achieving schools.
Exactly.
Or maybe they have more resources than
Yeah.
other schools.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then he also questioned how they assigned teachers to the different class types.
Okay.
Because maybe there were some, like, teacher and principal preferences that were influencing things.
Right. So maybe the best teachers ended up in the small classes.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that could definitely skew the results.
Yeah, so STAR had a lot of, like, really good things going for it.
Yeah.
But it also had its limitations.
Right.
And then, building on STAR, we've got another big one,
Okay.
Project SAGE.
Project Sage.
This one started in the mid-1990s
Okay.
in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And this one specifically targeted schools with a high percentage of disadvantaged students.
Oh.
So they were looking at schools with 30% or more of their students below the poverty line.
Oh. Okay.
So they were really focusing on, like, trying to help the kids who needed it the most.
Right.
And their main goal was to reduce the student-to-teacher ratio
Okay.
down to 15-1
Wow.
in grades K through 3.
Okay.
And they did this by both making smaller classes
Okay.
and adding aides.
Okay.
So kind of a two-pronged approach.
Right.
And Molnar and his colleagues,
Okay.
they reported that after 2 years,
Yeah.
there were positive results on achievement tests.
Oh. Okay.
And they found that attending a SAGE school was a significant predictor of achievement.
Okay.
So, like, if you went to a SAGE school,
Yeah.
you were more likely to do well.
Okay.
And they also found that African-American students in SAGE schools,
Okay.
they had higher average scores
Okay.
and made greater gains
Oh, wow.
than their counterparts in non-SAGE schools,
Oh, that's great.
which, again, helps to narrow the achievement gap.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about test scores.
Okay.
They also did surveys and interviews with teachers. And the teachers said that they felt like Sage was leading to a greater emphasis on understanding and addressing the individual needs of students.
Okay.
So even though they might have been using similar instructional techniques, as in larger classes,
Okay.
they were able to give more focused attention to each student
Okay.
because there were fewer students overall.
Right.
And Hellback and others, they reported on some qualitative findings from SAGE.
Okay.
And they highlighted things like fewer discipline problems
Okay.
in the smaller classes
Okay.
and more time for actual instruction
Oh, okay.
and greater depth of coverage of the curriculum.
So basically, if things were just running more smoothly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jacobson, he suggested that maybe one of the keys to SAGE's success
Okay.
was that they provided teachers with specific training
Oh,
on how to emphasize basic academic skills when they were working with students individually.
okay.
So it's not just about having smaller classes.
Hmm.
It's also about giving teachers the tools they need.
Yeah, to make the most of that smaller class size.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that SAGE was focusing on student-to-teacher ratio,
Okay.
not just class size.
Right.
So in some cases, they might have added an extra teacher to a classroom
Okay.
rather than just reducing the number of students.
Right.
So maybe some of the benefits were due to team teaching
Oh, interesting.
rather than just smaller classes.
Okay.
So when you look at all three of these studies together,
Okay.
Primetime, STAR, and SAGE,
Yeah.
there's a pretty consistent pattern.
Okay.
Smaller classes
Yeah.
or lower student-to-teacher ratios
Okay.
seem to have positive effects
Okay.
on student outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's pretty compelling.
It is. Yeah.
Even though each study has its own limitations,
Right.
the overall pattern is there.
Okay.
And Engelhardt also mentions that there have been other large-scale efforts,
Okay.
like in California,
Okay.
that didn't have rigorous data collection. But there were anecdotal reports from those initiatives
Okay.
suggesting benefits like fewer discipline issues and improved teacher morale in smaller classes.
Okay. So even without the hard data,
Yeah.
it seems like there might be something to it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
But, we can't just ignore the other side of the coin.
Right.
There are definitely studies out there that haven't found positive effects
Mhm.
from reducing class size.
Right. And some have even found negative effects.
Yeah, so we need to take a look at those too.
Okay.
So one study that's often cited
Okay.
is by Sharpson and colleagues.
Okay.
This was done in Toronto back in 1980,
Okay.
and they randomly assigned students in grades 4 and 5
Okay.
to classes of different sizes.
Okay.
So they had classes of 16 students,
Okay.
23 students,
Okay.
30 students,
Okay.
and 37 students.
Okay. Wow. That's a big range.
Yeah.
That's,
And they compared a bunch of different outcomes
Okay.
over 2 years.
Okay.
And what they found was that class size didn't have a significant impact on teacher attitudes,
okay.
student attitudes towards school,
Okay.
their self-concept,
Healthy.
or their achievement in things like art, writing, vocabulary reading, and math problem solving.
Wow. So basically they found no effect.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's interesting.
And then there's Slavin's meta-analysis
Okay.
from 1989.
Okay.
And he looked at a bunch of randomized experiments on class size reduction.
Okay.
And he found that the average effect on student achievement was really small.
Oh.
So he concluded that reducing class size might lead to some positive changes.
Okay.
But it probably wasn't the most effective way to significantly boost student achievement on a large scale.
Okay.
He said that it might be a reasonable approach if you didn't expect huge improvements.
Right.
But it's not like a magic bullet.
Okay.
And then Robinson, in 1990,
Okay.
he reviewed about 100 studies on class size.
Okay.
And he concluded that the research didn't really justify setting strict limits on class size
Okay.
or making small reductions as a general policy.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's Hanishek, who we
Yeah.
talked about earlier.
Yeah.
He's been a really vocal critic of class size reduction policies.
Right.
And his main argument is that it's just not a cost-effective way to improve student achievement.
Okay.
He says that we could be spending that money on other things
Okay.
that would have a bigger impact.
Okay.
So he's got a few, key pieces of evidence that he uses to support his argument.
Okay.
One is data from the NAEP,
Okay.
which is the National Assessment of Educational Progress.
Okay.
And he points out that even though the pupil-to-teacher ratio has decreased significantly since 1970,
Okay.
overall academic performance has basically stayed the same.
So he's saying that even though we're putting more teachers in classrooms,
Yeah.
It's not actually making a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then he also looks at data from TIMSS,
Okay.
which is the third International Mathematics and Science Study. And he interprets that data as suggesting that there's actually a positive relationship
Okay.
between pupil-to-teacher ratio and test scores internationally.
Oh, interesting.
So basically, he's saying that students in countries with larger classes tend to perform better.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then his third big piece of evidence
Yay.
is his own review of a bunch of econometric studies
Okay.
that he did up to 1994.
Okay.
And he says that about 85% of those studies
Okay.
show either a negative or insignificant relationship
Okay.
between student outcomes and the pupil-to-teacher ratio.
Oh, so he's saying that smaller classes either don't help or they actually hurt.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
But a lot of people have criticized his arguments.
Okay.
So, for example, his analysis of the NAEP data,
Okay.
people have pointed out that during that same period,
Okay.
when achievement was supposedly stagnant,
Yeah.
high school dropout rates also decreased.
Oh.
So you've got a larger proportion of lower achieving students
Okay.
who are staying in school and being included in the NAEP data.
Okay.
So maybe that's why it looks like achievement hasn't improved.
Right, because you're including more kids who are struggling.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they've also said that he doesn't really separate out the effects of class size from other factors,
Right.
and that he's using pupil-to-teacher ratio as a proxy for class size.
Right, which aren't the same thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they've also pointed out that he's including high school data,
Okay.
which isn't really what most people are focused on when they're talking about class size.
Right, it's usually elementary school.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the TIMSS data,
Yeah.
people have said that you can't just equate pupil-to-teacher ratios with class sizes across different countries.
Right, because different countries might organize their schools differently.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then, there are also cultural differences that could be affecting things.
Right, what works in one culture might not work in another.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then Kruger,
Yeah.
he took a really close look at Honishek's review of econometric studies.
Yeah, okay.
And he said that he had some concerns about how Honishek selected the studies
Okay.
and how he weighted their findings.
Okay.
So he said that Honishek's selection criteria were kind of inconsistent,
Okay.
and that he included some unpublished studies,
Okay.
and that he gave more weight to studies that had unsystematic or negative results.
Oh.
And then when Kruger reanalyzed the same studies, giving each study equal weight,
Okay.
he found that studies showing a positive impact of pupil-to-teacher ratio were actually way more common.
Oh, wow. So basically he was saying that Honishek was kind of skewing the results.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So as you can see, the research is really complicated.
Yeah.
And it's not surprising that people are still debating this,
Yeah.
because it really depends on which studies you find more persuasive
Right.
and which arguments you find more convincing.
Okay.
So where do we go from here?
Right. What's the next step?
Well, Engelhardt says that we're not likely to see many more large-scale experimental studies,
Okay.
like STAR,
Okay.
because they're really expensive
Right.
and logistically difficult to do.
Okay.
And he also says that given all the research that's already been done,
Yeah.
just doing more isolated single-site studies
Okay.
isn't really going to give us much new information.
Okay.
So he proposes a different approach.
Okay. I'm curious.
He calls it research synergy.
Research synergy.
And it basically involves doing single-site studies,
Okay.
but designing them in a way that allows them to build on each other.
Oh.
So instead of each study being this isolated thing,
Right.
they're all part of a larger effort
Okay.
to understand the relationship between class size and student learning.
Okay. I like that.
And he says,